Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the cottage kitchen at the Elliott Homestead. It's a little bit scruffy here today. The house is a bit messy. I'm a little bit messy, and the weather is a little bit drizzly. So I thought to cheer us up and to bring a little beauty and deliciousness to our day, we would head outside to the rhubarb and make a beautiful rhubarb cake together. So I'm going to be taking my very favorite knife outside to harvest and chop our rhubarb. I want to introduce you to Kamikoto knives. So these are the knives that we have stocked in our kitchen for years and years. They come in this beautiful wood ash box. All of them have been personally inspected and they come with a lifetime guarantee. I love that they come in this box as a set because it makes it really easy when you want to travel with them, which I absolutely do. These knives are used in Michelin star kitchens around the world for very good reason. I'm going to put a link down below the video where you can check out Kamikoto knives for yourself. Make sure you use the code Elliott50 because Kamikoto was very gracious and offered Elliott Homestead viewers $50 off their purchase of a Kamikoto knife. While you're at Kamikoto's site, check out their Japanese whetstones because it's a great way to sharpen your knives. It's a little bit of a technique, a little bit of a learning curve, but really helpful in the kitchen to keeping super sharp blades on hand. All right, let's go get some rhubarb. This is a bit of a scruffy cake, which is exactly how I like my cakes. But just because it's scruffy, like me today, doesn't mean that we're compromising on ingredients. So the sugar that I used, you might notice, is really coarse and brown. It's called sucanant, and it's the juice from a sugarcane plant that's just been pressed out of that cane and dehydrated. So it still has all the molasses intact. And that's my sweetener of choice. Sucanat, maple sugar, maple syrup, and honey are the 4 sweeteners that we use here in our kitchen. I'm going to save the rest of this for the cake. But this cake is neat in that we're sort of building it upside down. So the top where the rhubarb is the bottom where the rhubarb is will actually be the top. So I've just sprinkled a little sugar over to sort of start the rhubarb releasing its juices. And then ultimately when the cake's done, we're going to flip it over, and that's what we'll see on the top. And hopefully, if everything goes right, the juice from the rhubarb will sort of mix and bake together with those beautiful sugar crystals, and we'll get a nice glossy sweet tart topping. Here I have a cup of really beautiful butter. Totally blanked in my mind what that was for a second. And I'm going to add that to the rest of my sugar here. I had a cup in total. About a quarter of a cup went over that rhubarb. And now we're going to cream it together. See my light on this thing? Swagger. Now I'm going to add 3 eggs, one at a time, making sure that they get incorporated well before I add the next one. I'm going to be using a couple duck eggs because they're really beautiful in baking. See if I can do this one-handed. Like a professional. If a stand mixer is sort of out of your kitchen budget, I would highly recommend taking some of that budget and investing in a few tools that you can use in a lot of different ways. One of those would be really nice knives because you're going to use them for every single meal. This is a really great alternative, just a handheld mixer. It's a really great alternative to the more expensive sort of stand mixer counterpart. It takes a little bit more work just in like this, but it's also really versatile and really lightweight. It's one of the reasons I kind of go for it a lot in the kitchen now. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of vanilla extract, about 2 teaspoons, about a teaspoon of a good sea salt. My canister is almost empty here. And now we're going to add maybe a little bit more of a non-traditional ingredient, but one that's really important. I really don't like overly sweet things. And so in desserts, I always try to find an acidic counterpoint to the sweet. So for example, in cookies, we can often add something like a lemon zest, some sort of an acid that counters the sweet and actually enhances it, but in a balanced kind of a way so that it doesn't just hit your palate as sweet. It makes it a little bit more complex. And for this recipe, I'm going to be relying on sour cream, which might not be something that you've ever thought should be in a cake, but really it's fatty and it's acidic and it's really lightweight and whips up really well. So it's going to give our cake a lot of moisture, a lot of body, a lot of flavor, and it's going to give us something to kind of juxtaposition against our sugar. Is that the juxtapose our sugar? Contrast? All those things. This is about 3/4 of a cup here. All that's left now is a teaspoon of baking powder and a cup of flour. I'm going to be using all-purpose Einkorn flour. It's my flour of choice, which most of you already know, but it's so buttery and so sort of just crumbly and beautiful that it works so well for baked ingredients. Not baked ingredients, baked goods. That's what I was trying to say. Would you believe that with all the cooking that we do here in our little kitchen, I have one rubber spatula, and I actually went to a restaurant supply store last week to get a plethora of rubber spatulas so that I could stop running out. And it was the one utensil that they didn't have. So that's still on my list. I'm well stocked with many things, but spatulas is not one of them. You can see how beautiful and creamy our batter is. Look at this. Ah! I love this cake. And you know, I'm not much of a cake person. I'm not much of a pretentious food or dessert kind of a person. I do like my food a little bit on the shabby side. Beautiful. So this is an 8-inch springform pan. If you bake any kind of cakes in your kitchen, springform pans are a really small investment, but really worth it, because once this cake comes out, we can just quickly pop this outer collar off of our cake and flip it over onto a plate, since this is sort of like a rhubarb upside down cake. So this is gonna go into an oven at 350 degrees until it's set.